Hello, crafty friends. It is Jessica here. Welcome back to Jessie Kate Creates. In today's video, I'm doing things a little bit differently. Instead of showing you a completed card or taking you through the process of making a card from start to finish, today I am just going to kind of show you myself really just working on one element of a card. I think this is a little bit of a more realistic way into how I craft. Sometimes I will sit down and make a full project from start to finish if I already have an idea in my head or I've sketched something out. But it's also really common for me to just be in the mood to play with a particular technique or die or stamp set, something like that. Or I maybe just don't have time to make a full card, so I'll just work on one element. So today I'm going to be mass producing some die cuts. I'm going to cut them out and then color them in and assemble them here together on camera with you. Now, because I am going to show that full process, this is kind of a longer video. So go ahead and grab a project that you're working on and maybe a nice little snack, a tasty little beverage, and we can just kind of hang out and craft together in this video. And if you don't have time to hang around to watch me do all of this coloring and die cutting, I got you covered too. I'm putting timestamps below this video. You can find them in the description box. So you can kind of jump and skip around to the parts that you do want to see or just kind of skip over the parts that you don't care to watch. That's fine too. And the last thing before we get into making these die cuts, I need y'all's help. So recently I picked up this cute little plant right here from a craft show. Give me 1 second. I'm going to grab her so you can see her a little closer. So I picked up this lovely heart leaf philodendron. And she is going to live here in the craft room. She'll be my little plant buddy when I'm crafting. And I need help coming up with a name for her. I haven't really figured out something I like. So if you guys have suggestions for a name for our little plant craft buddy, let me know in the description box down below. She is going to live in the craft room. She needs a proper pot. All the pots I have are too big, so I need to get her her own special little pot. But yeah, let me know if you have any name suggestions. Okay, now with that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and flip this camera around and let's get into mass producing some die cuts. Okay, so this is the die set I'm using. This is from Sizzix. Actually not certain of the name of this set. Festive Sky Party. There we go. Festive Sky Party. I'm not sure if this is still available or if it's retired. If it is still available, I will try to find a link and put it in the description box. If it's not, I'm so sorry, guys. But the good news is you can do this technique really with any type of die. This is just the one I happen to be using today. And it cuts out this little Santa Claus, 2 adorable little penguins, a polar bear, and some balloons. But today I'm just going to cut out the Santa, the polar bear, and the penguins. Now, one of the reasons that I have decided to color these in with alcohol markers instead of cutting them out of colored cardstock is because the way these dies were done, they're all together on one piece. So like all the parts you need to make Santa are on one piece, right? It's not a bunch of separate ones. And to me, the idea of having to cut out this die a million times or having to cut off small bits of paper and line them up sounds like too much work. I'd rather just color them in with my dies. That's just me personally. Maybe if you really love die cutting, you'd rather die cut these a bunch of different times to get all the colors that you need. This is just me personally. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I have some 100-pound cardstock. This is Accent Opaque cardstock. Again, I'll have it linked in the description box down below. I like alcohol coloring on this, and I'm not going to do anything crazy with my markers, so I don't need like a super smooth, beautiful paper. This is going to work just fine for my purposes. So I just have 4 panels of that. I'm also going to be batching this out so that I have Christmas cards, hopefully for some upcoming craft shows. So the first thing I'm going to do is tape down all of these dies. And I will say lately I've heard a lot of people loving this removable Scotch tape. I think Call Me Crafty Al is the first person I heard. I just threw my scissors. 1 minute, guys. Anyway. So actually for this part, I just need some small pieces to tape these down. One thing with this technique that you want to try to do, I'm going to be coloring these in on this same sheet of paper. So I don't want anything to be too close together if I can help it. So I'm trying to have these all spaced out pretty nicely. And I think this is going to work just fine. Okay. So the next step now is to run this through my die cutting machine. So I'm going to grab my plates. I use a Cricut Cuttlebug. It's the first die cutting machine I ever got, and it works still, so I still use it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down. Grab my machine. So these little flaps fold out. Now I'm going to crank this through. In general, with die cuts, I do like to run things through twice to make sure I get a nice, good, clean cut, just like I got here. Perfect. Now, I am going to leave these on the paper. I'm going to grab my tape, and I'm going to tape these in place. There are a lot of small parts in this set, like the little beak of the penguin and its little feet. And it was just kind of a pain in the butt trying to keep track of those little pieces. So leaving it attached to the paper like this, I found just made this process a lot easier to color everything in. But, you know, you do you. But I wanted to share this in case there's anyone that this is really helpful for. Same thing. And you just want to make sure that you get all of the pieces taped down. This tape was relatively inexpensive, which is why I don't mind using a ton of it here, because I didn't spend an arm and a leg on it. My mint tape, I don't know that I would do this with, just because it is a little bit more expensive, which is why I chose to use the Scotch tape for this. Oh, I almost forgot Santa's beard and face, because we will be coloring those in. Okay. Now, I am just going to go ahead. Oh, well, let me show you. So now when I pull off the dies, you see the die cuts, they stay in place because they're taped down. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this to my other 3 pieces. Now, oh, one thing I will point out, some of the small pieces, they are going to want to stick in the die. See here, they want to stick. Little feet didn't want to come out. That's fine. I'm just going to flip this back over, poke the little holes that the feet are in, and now they're stuck down to the tape. Just like that. Okay. So I'm just going to keep doing this process. There we go. See again, the foot wanted to stick in the die, so I'm just going to pop it out with my little pick tool. Okay. So once I get this out, I'm just going to go through, and like I said, I'm going to do this exact same thing to the other 3 sheets that I cut out. I'm going to do that off camera, just so this video doesn't get too long. Oh, I'm missing a piece. It's because I didn't have tape over the back, so I'm just going to add a piece of tape back here and pop that little circle in. And then this one moved just a little. Just going to pop it back in place. There we go. right, and I'm just going to keep going with this process until I've cut out as many of these panels as I want or I think I need. I'll come back when they're all done. Okay, so now I have all 4 of my panels cut out and ready to go. They're all taped down so the pieces are stuck in there. They're not going anywhere. And this is really convenient for a couple different reasons. One, I can travel easily with these. There is a little craft meetup group I go to sometimes. It's mostly quilters, but they're kind enough to let me hang out with them. So if I wanted to take these on the go, it would be a lot easier to travel with them like this than if they were a bunch of just small pieces. The other reason I really like this is because as I'm coloring, it helps me know what piece is what. So what I mean by that, like, for example, these little beaks, they are so tiny. And if this was just floating around on my desk, I might think this was just a scrap that I needed to throw away. But having it here, I can see, oh, okay, this is the beak for this penguin. You know what I mean? Or like these, again, these look like something that might just be a scrap that gets thrown away. But seeing it all together, I know, oh, these are actually the hands for the Santa. So that's really helpful too. Okay, so now I'm going to start coloring. Well, first let me grab my markers. Okay, I am going to start with a really easy one, and I'm going to start by coloring the feet and the beaks for the penguins. For that, I'm just using one color. Like I said, this Copic coloring is really simple today. For every image, I'm just using 1 or 2 colors. Okay, so I'm going to start. I have YR04, and I'm just going to use this, like I said, to color in the beak and the feet of my little penguin. This to me also makes it really easy to go ahead and batch these out. I don't try to color one full image at a time. I want this orange to be darker, so I'm just going to layer it up again. Yeah, I'm not trying to just kind of pulling out one marker at a time and going through it like that. Makes it easier too. This also makes it really easy because it gives me more like starting and stopping points. Like if I'm working on this and I need to stop in the middle of it, it's really easy for me to see what I have done and what I still need to come back and finish up. Now, one thing that does get kind of hard with this is within the die cut, like these images are really close together. Like this is the body of the penguin. And I'm going to color it so it looks white. And this bright orange gets really close to it. So you do have to be kind of careful with your coloring to make sure you don't go into another area. But I find that bit's not too hard to do. And for me, I just find this really easy. Like I said, though, if you're someone who really likes die cutting, you could totally pull out a bunch of different colors of cardstock and do that. That's just, I like die cutting, but that to me, that seemed more tedious and like more work than I'd prefer to do. Some people might feel the opposite. I know some of you probably are like, oh my gosh, it would be so much harder to color all of these with alcohol markers. Like, let me just grab my stash of paper and get to cutting. But that's the nice thing about crafting is we all get to do what makes us happy and what brings us joy when we're crafting. And that's different for everyone, and that's okay. Okay. Boom, and now I'm done with this marker. I'm not going to need it again because I got all my orange colored in. Next, I'm going to go to, I think, coloring in my Santa. So today I'm going to make some brown Santas. So I am using E18 and E49. Like I said, though, I'm keeping this super simple. Oops, I need the other end of that marker. No, this one. Okay, so I'm going to start with the hands. Now with the Santa, the only thing that's going to show on this part is like the body of his suit, the little red portions, everything else is going to be covered up. So if I get a little bit of brown on the legs, it's not going to hurt anything. So his hands, and then next we're going to do his face. I'm going to cover it with my lighter marker, and then just do some shading at the top of his face with the darker marker. And once over to blend it out, and boom. And we're going to do that for all my Santas. The other thing that's nice about this method is once you get into a groove with like what you're coloring, this goes really, like it goes really easy. It's easy to just kind of get into a rhythm and just knock these out, which is kind of nice. These are just the colors that I'm using today. If you wanted to use different colors, obviously you could. I have done this Santa before, and I colored him in with some lighter markers. I think I used like an E13 and an E15 to make like a Caucasian Santa, which you totally could do. You totally could do. But I wanted some black Santas today, so that's what we're going with. Okay. And now just like that, all of our Santas are done. So next, I think I'm going to move on to, the red for Santa's suit. Actually, first, before we do Santa's suit, I'm going to do Santa's cheeks. And I'm just going to use an R20 for this. And that's just these two dots down here. That's the other thing that makes keeping everything together really nice. It's easier for me to tell what needs to be colored how. So on the image, whenever possible, if there's like examples on the packaging, I try to keep the packaging. So here you can see there are 3 different dots that go into this Santa. There are the 2 dots on his cheeks, and then the little dot for the little pom-pom on his hat. So I know that these 2 are for his cheeks, and this one is for his hat. It just makes it easier for me to keep track of what I'm doing. If I just had 3 dots sitting out, I might get a little confused. So these are simple. Just going to cover these with this R20. That's probably, I meant to do that. Oh, sometimes I feel like I'm really bad at this YouTube stuff, kind of remembering what to film or how to do things, but I'm trying to get better. Also, if you guys have ideas for what you want to see me film, like videos you'd like to see me attempt to make, let me know in the comments. I can't promise that I'll be able to do it, but I'll try my best. Because a lot of times right now, I just kind of make whatever I'm in the mood for. Like I don't have some big master plan. Maybe I should. That might make making videos consistently a little bit easier. But I don't know. A lot of times when I'm crafting, I just go into my craft room and I make whatever I'm in the mood for. Or I make items that maybe I'm low on and I'd like to have for craft shows or for my website, stuff like that. Okay, so next we're moving on to Santa's suit. And I know here, so like I said, this is the base layering piece. Like the pants will get layered on top, his face will get layered on top, his beard will get layered on top. So for this, I know I need the bottom of his shirt, his sleeves, and his hat to all be red. I'm using 2 reds for this. I'm using R27. Oh, it's not focused. It's still not really focused. I'm using R27 and R39 because those are the colors I had in my stash that I thought would work well for this. Now here, his beard is going to be white. So these dyes cut really close together and I just need to be mindful to not get any red onto Santa's white beard. Here, it doesn't matter because it's going to get covered up. So I can be a little sloppy with this bit of coloring because I know it's going to get covered. Although this dot is also going to remain white, so I do need to be a little bit careful there. One thing that's nice about this dye is when you cut it, it cuts little indents that help you know what goes where when you're layering the pieces together, which is helpful. It's also helpful for me right now while I'm coloring this in. I'm going to do a little bit of shading on Santa, not a ton though. We're keeping this relatively simple. I enjoy Copic coloring, and I'm still working, I'm still learning, but for this, we're keeping it simple. You could definitely do this with like some other medium. This could be really cool actually if you did this with watercolor paper and then you watercolored in the images. I think that would be really pretty. I'm not doing that today, but you could if you wanted to. Oop, wrong color. It's also really nice because I only have to pull one color out at a time to hit all the areas I need, which also means, like, let's say I finish up the Santa and then I have to stop because I have to take care of other stuff that comes up, and I don't get to this again until it's time to go to my little craft group. That's less markers I have to bring because I know I've already colored in everything that's brown and pink and red and orange, so less markers to carry with me too, which is also really nice. Those are just some of the reasons I like doing this technique though. And it's just what I found works for me. With crafting, sometimes you have to, it's really easy to go on YouTube and find a bunch of different ideas and inspirations and recommendations on like different techniques that you can try. And you just got to play around and see what works for you and what doesn't, because we're all a little bit different. And so what works for me might not necessarily work for you, and vice versa, and that's totally okay. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. You can see I'm not being precise. Once again, I'm just kind of quickly going through to add in a little bit of shading. If you did cut these out of just plain cardstock, like let's say you cut this piece out of red, then if you wanted to add shading, you could use ink blending, or you could just use like one marker, like just the dark red, to add a little bit of extra to it. Or you could do none of that at all. Up to you once again. Also, there's not a ton of rhyme or reason for why I'm shading things the way I'm shading them. I think it's where things are meeting, but I'm not stressing it with these images. The goal for this wasn't for it to be like an elaborate project. It was just to play and have fun with my markers because I've been really enjoying them lately. Okay. So that's those colors done. Next, I'm going to grab some blue because I want this little polar bear's shirt to be blue. Okay. For the blue on this, I'm going to use B24 and B29. Now this is one of the ones where coloring it in does get a little tricky because of how super close together these images are. This polar bear, I'm going to add a little bit of light gray to shade it, but it's mainly going to stay white. This is going to be blue, and you can see there's like not a lot of margin for error. These are super close together. So I just have to be really careful when I'm coloring this in. That's okay though. I'm going to go over the whole sweater twice to get the shade of blue I want. Now for this marker, I am using, for this image, for the sweater, I am just using 2 colors, but I'm still going to use one of them to add a little bit of extra shading. So I'm going over this sweater twice. I'm going to set that aside. This one has had a chance to dry a little bit, so I'm going to come in and add a little bit of extra blue on the bottom edge, on the side, and right around the arm of our polar bear, just like that. It's going to be subtle shading, but it is still going to be there. All right, guys, it is Editing Jessica here. At this point in the coloring, I started to just kind of go into Zen mode, and I forgot I was filming a little bit, so I don't do very much talking for the remainder of the coloring. So I'm going to throw on some music, but anytime I had something important I wanted to share about the coloring process with you guys, I will pop in to share that, or like let you know what colors I'm using, all that good stuff. But for the rest of this coloring portion, I will throw on some music and we can just keep kind of coloring and creating together. Now, this is less shading and more detail that I'm adding with this deeper blue. I'm just going to make the trim of our sweater dark blue, just because this image is a little bit simpler, but I still want it to have a lot of interest. Next, we're going to do the white portion of our penguin and our polar bear. I'm going to start with our penguin. And for that, I'm just going to use W1 and the colorless blender. I might not be using the colorless blender right, you guys. I probably am not. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just doing this for funsies. So yeah, but this is just how I do it. Because I want the gray to be there, but very subtle. So I'm just going to go around the body with the W, or with the 0. Then I'm just going to go around the outline of the penguin with the W1. Then just go around that with the colorless blender. And boom, that's the penguin's body. Same thing over here. for the polar bear, I'm going to use the same process, but I'm going to add in a W3 marker. So colorless blender W1 and W3. Next, we're going to color in Santa's beard. For this, I'm using a 0 and an N2, neutral gray. Some nice light gray on the beard. I don't know if I'm going to be using the Santa Claus and the polar bears on the same image, but if they are, I want the white of the animals to be slightly different than the white of Santa's beard, so that's why I'm using warm gray with one and neutral gray with the other. I don't know. Makes sense in my head. Yeah, that's really all I have to say there, so I'm just gonna... Now the top of his hat, which is what this section is, the top of his hat, I'm just going to color that in with glitter, so I'm not going to add any shading there. I'm really just adding some shading to the outside of the beard and the bottom of the mustache and kind of right under where his lips would be. I wish I had a lighter neutral gray, but the N2 is the lightest one I have, so making it work with what we have. All right, now I think the very last thing we have to color in now is the black of the penguins in Santa's pants. Now for this part, I'm using two very random markers. One of these is a Spectrum Noir IG10. The other is a Spectrum Noir Basics. Both of these were markers. I don't know if these types of markers are still available. I got these for pretty cheap at Tuesday Morning years ago when I wanted to try my hand at using alcohol markers before I dipped into any specific brands. Like I said, they were super cheap, and it was just a way for me to see if it's even worth investing money into this medium of coloring, because I wasn't going to pay $8 per marker off the bat if I didn't even know if I liked it. And these were more like $2 a piece, so it's a great way to test it out. And these markers still have color in them, so I'm going to use them until they're dead. But really here you just need two really dark grays. And from what I have available, these were the two that I think are going to work best for me. So it's a black and a dark gray. Okay, so we're going to start with This penguin I think is supposed to be like laying on its side. Yeah, that's how they have it here. I guess you could have it upside down too, but that's how they have it here. That's why I like to keep the packaging as a reference. So I'm going to use this color first to kind of map out where I want the shadows to be. Like I said, this cuts out where the white part of the penguin's going to go, which makes it nice because it helps me know where I want to put this shading. So next I'm going to come in with the black. Here I'm trying to be very careful not to color in the feet of my penguin. So this portion of the video is for anyone who wants the cliff notes on how I did the coloring. Maybe you didn't have time to watch that full portion of the video, or you just want a nice little cheat sheet. Feel free to screenshot this so you have it if you need it later. So for all of the coloring I did, this kind of tells you everything I'll use. I'll start with Santa. For Santa's suit, I just used 2 shades of red. Most of these I used Copic markers. If I didn't use Copic markers, I'll let you know. For the suit, I used R27 and R39. For Santa's beard, I used the colorless blender and N2. For Santa's rosy cheeks, I used R20. For Santa's skin, I used E18 and E79. Although just one alternative option, I did do a different Santa who looked like this. And for this Santa, I used E13 and E15. And for Santa's pants, these were not Copic markers. These are just 2 random markers I have in my stash. I used a dark gray and a black. These happen to be 2 different brands of Spectrum Noir markers. You can use just a dark gray and a black that you have in your stash. I also used that black color combination for my penguin. For the body of the penguin, I used the colorless blender and warm gray 1. And for the penguin's beak and its feet, I used YR04. For the polar bear, for his body, I used the warm grays again. I used the colorless blender, warm gray 1 and warm gray 3. And for our polar bear's sweater, I used B24 and B29. And there you go. That is the cheat sheet on how I colored everything in. Hope that was helpful. Now let's get back to the rest of the video. So at this point, I have colored in all of my panels, and I am going to go ahead and put together all of the images from one of the panels. Just so you can see what that looks like. And that's what I would do next. Again, if I was at this point and I needed to stop, it would be really easy for me to call it quits here, or if I wanted to take this somewhere else to finish this crafting, I could take just this portion of the project with me and very easily know what pieces go with what. Okay, so I'm going to start by assembling the bear because I think that is going to be the easiest. Ooh, just peel that up. I think this just kind of goes like that. Yay, so cute. Oh my god, this die really is adorable. Okay. I'm using wet glue for this because I think it's going to be easier. I'm also just gluing this together, but you could, obviously, if you wanted to, you could like pop up the sweater with some foam tape. I'm just choosing not to do that today. It's so cute. You just see his little hand peeking out. There we go. Ooh. Go. Now, one thing I am going to do on this one, just really quick, see, this cuts out, that's supposed to be the little nose for the bear, but that is so tiny. And to me, it seems like a headache to pop that out and try to get that lined up correctly. So instead, I'm just taking this black glaze gel pen. I'm going to use that for the nose on him. And ta-da! So cute. He has a nice shiny nose. Nice shiny nose. I don't know if the camera's picking up the shine. And that was just a lot easier. Next, we'll do this penguin. I'm going to start by adding on the body of the penguin. I did lose one of the dots for his eye, but that's okay because I'm just going to fill it in with that same glaze pen. One thing that's nice about these particular dies, I don't know if the camera is going to pick it up, but it does have like a little outline of where the body, I think you can see it there, the outline of where the body is supposed to go, so you know you can line it up correctly. There we go. I swiped it to the side. Okay, there we go. And we have the little legs of our penguin, which I believe go like this. Yeah. I'm just going to put glue right on the tips. There we go. And for the nose of the penguin, I am going to use my little pokey tool. Not my pokey tool, but a little jewel picker. A small dot of glue. There we go. I'll go back in a minute and add on the eyes with the pen. I'll do the other ones first because I'm just now realizing they're all going to need some accents, so makes more sense to wait. We'll do this penguin next. Peel them up. And this one there's not an indent, but I think it just kind of lines up. Let me test this out. I think it goes like that. So at the bottom of the belly just kind of lines up a little bit. Like so. And click here. Come back a bit more. There we go. I think that looks good. So penguin. Let's assume he's laying down. Next we need his little feet. Something like that. Call that good. Now for our Santa. So yeah, Santa, I'm gonna start by adding on, filling in Santa's face. It goes like that. And this is gonna go over top. I think there's a little bit poking out. I'm going to take my marker, fill that in, so that anything that pokes out just kind of all looks like it's supposed to be there. And once again, there are little indents to show me kind of where to line it up, plus it has the edge of the hat and the beard. So I'm just going to try to get everything lined up the best I can. There we go. Next up, oh, I missed the edge of one of Santa's hands. That's the wrong color, but I did it now, so it is what it is. I don't think anyone is going to notice. I think this hand goes here. And this hand goes here. Right? I think that's right. Actually, no. We cannot tell. Does this look right? Yeah, that is right. Okay. Okay. Let's rip Santa's pants. Got those on. We're going to do the ball on Santa's hat, the pom-pom, I guess. Oops, sorry, I think I just hit the camera. Oh, I forgot the beak on this guy. Oops. Gonna add that in now while I'm thinking about it. Okay. And now we need Santa's rosy cheeks. So I'm gonna put it one here, one here. Okay. Small die cuts can be kind of finicky sometimes, but they're so cute. Did not put enough glue down because it does not want to stick. There we go. There we go. Okay, so now I can go in and add finishing touches. So I'm gonna start with this penguin. I lost his eye. I think all the other ones I managed to keep both the eyes. I'm not sure how yeah. I don't know how I managed to lose it on this one, but no worries. We're just gonna fill this hole in with the glaze pen. Then with the other eye, we're gonna put the glaze pen right on top. He looks a little funky because of that one eye, but I think it's fine. And then for Santa, I'm going to start by going over the trim of his hat with the glitter pin very liberally. Lots of sparkle here, folks. Lots of sparkle. So what is Christmas without sparkle? So an obnoxious amount of glitter. Same thing for the pom-pom, little ball at the end of the hat. An insane amount of glitter. I want so much glitter because I'm going to go over this with some gloss, and I want the sparkle to really shine through. There's that. And now I'm taking, this is triple thick that I just put into a smaller bottle. So this is Deco Art Triple Thick Brush On Gloss Glaze. This is how I store it so it doesn't dry out. I just cap it and then put some press and seal around it. But I move it into this small bottle because it makes it easier for me to apply it to the card. So in this case, that is going to be the brim of Santa's hat. So first, I'm going to squeeze out a little just to get any air bubbles out. And now I'm going to fill in this hat. To start at the edge. And give myself a border. Now just fill it in. There we go. Very generous. And then the same thing with the little pom-pom ball. Boop. Now I'm going to set that aside to dry, and then once everything on these has dried, I will come back and show you some close-ups. Okay, so now all of my little pieces have been colored in and assembled. I did just want to give you some close-ups of each one. I don't know if you can see on camera, but in person you can see the gloss and glitter in Santa's and his hat. So that's how that's looking. Then we have our adorable polar bear with his little glossy nose. I don't know if you can see the glossy nose. There we go. Maybe there. So that's our polar bear. And then we have our two little penguins. I'm really happy with how these turned out. And so yeah, this weekend I think I am going to attend my little craft group and play around with these. Although look at this, wouldn't that be so adorable? Like if this polar bear was laying on something and then the little penguin was laying on top. That might be a card. Who knows? We'll see what I end up doing with these. But there is one last thing I want to show you for how I like to finish off some of these cards. This is a totally optional step. If you think this is extra and you're like, girl, you're doing too much, that's totally fine. You don't have to do it, but I do like to do it. So you might notice on the Santa, like the white edges on like his pants and his hands and stuff, they're kind of, the hat, they're kind of bothering me. So here's how I'm going to fix that. So I grabbed some of the markers in the same colors that I used for these, and I'm just going to go around some of those white edges with the marker because it'll make me, like the edge of the hat here, it's kind of driving me insane. So trying to be very careful not to touch any areas that are supposed to be white. It's not supposed to be white there. Like the edge of the pants here kind of showing through. I'm going to use red because I don't want to get black on the red, but if I get red on the black, it's not really going to be noticeable. See? And I think that looks better now. Over here, the edge of the sleeve. Can you guys see what I'm doing? Again, you totally do not have to do this. I think these looked adorable before I did this, but for me personally, it was just bothering me. So I'm gonna fix it so it doesn't bother me. And see, I don't know if you can see, I'm just kind of where it's white there. I'm just kind of tapping and pushing with the edge of my marker. I think that looks a lot better. I'll do the same thing over here. Just kind of tapping because the edge of the paper is a little bit rough and I don't want to mess up the tips of my markers. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back with the red right here. So on the edge here, on the edge here. Again, I don't mind getting the red on a darker. It's okay to get a lighter color on a darker color because you're probably not going to notice it. But I don't want to get the darker color on the lighter color. The pants is what was bothering me the most here. So, especially because like I said, I don't know how I'm going to use these on a card quite yet, but I'm probably going to pop these up, just knowing me and how I like to make my cards. I love to pop up little figures like this. So if the edges show, I want them to look nice. Oh yeah, I think that looks so much better now without all those little white edges showing. I'm very happy with that. Okay, so those are all the images. I still have, I actually went back and colored in some more of these because I was just enjoying myself. So I think in total I did 12 panels maybe, and they're all colored in. And hopefully, like I said, my plan this weekend is to go to my little craft group. And while everyone else is working on, you know, cutting squares and sewing and all their quilting fun, I will be assembling all of these dies, hopefully. Hello friends, it is Future Jessica here. I did end up going to that craft group and getting a bunch of my dies assembled, and then I had to come home and do the last little bit. So I'm really happy with how much progress I was able to make with these die cuts. I hope you were able to make a lot of progress on whatever project you were working on with me today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you were working on a project, let me know down in the comments what you were working on while we were crafting today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. That really helps my channel to grow. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm, and it helps other people to find my channel and join our little crafty community. If you like this video and want to be sure to see all the videos I put out, then be certain that you subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so that you get notified every time I post a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in another video soon. Bye!